Prince Harry's bumpy battle to lock down beefed-up security in the U.S. has evolved into more than a legal tiff. It's become a fascinating case study in public perception, international optics, and how even royalty can fumble the power game. Once the golden child of Britain's royal family, now firmly planted in California soil, Harry is facing a cold dose of American reality. No crown, no guaranteed security. His push for heightened protection hasn't been denied due to strict disqualification, but rather wrapped in a tangle of missteps, many linked to Meghan Markle's reputation and controversial approach. At the heart of this saga is a growing sense that their quest for privilege clashed hard with U.S. protocols and cultural expectations. The story blends elements of perceived entitlement, strained diplomacy, and media manipulation. What could have been a quiet negotiation turned into a textbook example of how not to manage high-profile institutional relationships. And it all began when Harry tried to reinstate his UK police protection, citing the inadequacies of private security firms compared to his royal-level past. On paper, it seemed logical. In practice, it ruffled feathers on both sides of the Atlantic, publicly implying that U.S. agencies couldn't measure up to his old team wasn't just tone-deaf. It was seen as a direct insult to the very institutions expected to protect him now. Sources close to the situation suggest this wasn't solely Harry's idea, but part of a broader media strategy pushed by Markle. Rather than quietly building goodwill, the couple seemed to double down on crafting a narrative, one that critics say leaned too heavily on victimhood and not enough on diplomacy. Markle's legal team, insiders say, pushed hard for privileges well beyond the norm, requests more in line with heads of state than ex-royals. Homeland Security sources reportedly viewed the tone as aggressive, even entitled. It wasn't just about getting extra guards. It was about access, control, and perks that clashed with the rules. But things didn't stop at behind-the-scenes negotiations. What really turned heads was the apparent strategy to leak frustrations to the media, painting U.S. security agencies as underprepared or uncooperative. This public airing of grievances felt wildly off-brand for a couple who frequently preach gratitude, compassion, and respect for service. The optics? Not great. Instead of earning empathy, this move triggered backlash. Suddenly, their security woes weren't about safety. They were about trust, tact, and perception. Critics argue this was a critical miscalculation, not a fluke but a deliberate choice to go public. It backfired. Big time. This episode mirrors their ongoing friction with the British royal family. Just as the Sussexes blamed the monarchy for racism and neglect, they now seem to be butting heads with American institutions using similar tactics. In both cases, the real issue isn't status, it's strategy. And that strategy seems to be increasingly adversarial. Markle, in particular, has been accused of turning confidential talks into curated media moments. Diplomacy, in their world, appears heavily staged. This pattern of behavior, whether in London or Los Angeles, has chipped away at trust. And once trust disappears, so do opportunities. The irony is hard to miss. Harry, once surrounded by state-sponsored security and unshakable privilege, now finds himself out in the cold, not because he was denied, but because he and Meghan torched the bridges before they even finished crossing them. In the end, this saga is less about one man's quest for security and more about how reputation, communication, and humility matter, even at the highest levels of fame. When personal ambition runs ahead of political and cultural awareness, the fallout can be swift and unforgiving. The lesson? Influence isn't just inherited. It must be owned and maintained with respect, not expectation.